literature, the most important part of any research is the review of literature. And why the review of literature is very important, because it helps in identification of the gap that is required for any research problem to be addressed. And in order to answer any research question, we must know what already have been done and what is required from us as a researcher. So for doing review of literature, there are certain important concepts that we have to be very sure about it. In research, everything is crystal clear. As I was talking in the morning about different research things like references, that the first step in any research is your thinking process, and that should be crystal clear. There should be no ifs or buts, and there should be no ambiguity or confusion about it. So how can this clarity comes in? This clarity only comes through the review of literature. The more you read, the more you are able to do or perform a good research. So what is research? We have this hourglass, and the citation is here by Bakir and Veliman in 2016. They have given hourglass approach. What is hourglass? It has a very broad start, and then there is a tapered almost in the middle, and then there is, after this tapering, we have again a very wide base. So this broad start leading to the broad base, it is important in any part of the research. Rabi, I would like you to please, if you stop your video, right, about our research. So how can we introduce the important terms in our research? Just like as we are sitting here, and the first thing that we did was we start a storming session or a brainstorming in order to get a better understanding of each other. So similarly, as you meet a new person, as you enter a new room, you first want to know who is he or how he will behave in future, and what is his purpose of coming in. Similarly, in research, you have to introduce your research topic, because it is something that new has been added to the existing literature. So you have to introduce it with the statement of the problem, with the burden of the disease, with the important definitions that are standard definitions, and there should be citation. As I have given you the citation of this slide. Similarly, you have to give the citation of all these standard definitions that you have used in your introduction. In next paragraph, you have to give the gap. What is the existing gap in the research, and what can be done for that existing gap? After identification of the gap, the next important thing is to bridge that gap, or to solve that gap, or to do something in order to know how we can do better for identification and problem solving of that important gap. After doing this, we also call it hook. After identification of your hook, you have to develop the rationale or justification of your research. If the justification is not there, then nobody is interested in your research. Believe it, it is not for yourself, it is for the contribution in your field, for the contribution to your profession. So if you are not able to justify your research, nobody is bothered to know more about your research. The second is about another important point in writing any good introduction is to give important citations from the literature. And we have already discussed that there is a difference between review of literature and literature review. And the important difference is a review of literature, it is reading and reading and reading. And what is literature review? It is whatever you have been read over the time. Now you have to write it and to comment on it or critique it, or doing a critical appraisal of this reading or the literature that was available to you, and start writing about it. And this is called literature review. That is your understanding and your comments about it, and how you express it in written form. Then comes the research focus. In research focus, as you have seen, that we have narrowed down all those databases that were full of research on certain important topics. We have narrowed it down or taper it to the focus. And what is the focus? It is your research question. It is your objective. It is your, if I further little bit explain it, first you have to define your goals, then your aims, and then your objectives, because the objective is the most focused part of your research. Then comes the methodology. In methodology, you have to write about what is the setting, what is the duration of your research. It is very important to identify the time, place, and persons or participants in your research. We will talk more about the methodology in detail. The next important thing is you have to give your study universe, your study population. Again, as we always talk about population, we should be very clear. What is the target population, and what is the accessible population, and what is the study population? Because all these three populations, they differ from each other. In methodology, you should give the justification of choosing one of the sample from this population and how you have approached that sample. In sample, you have to give the sample selection procedure, including inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria. Then you have to give the sample size calculation, that how much you are confident about your sample size, how the power, the margin of the error, and the other important parameters have been taken care of while you were calculating your sample from your population. Next important thing is about data collection procedures, data analysis procedures, administrative plans, Gantt chart, time frame, and all those important things that are required for ethical considerations like consent forms, how would you maintain the confidentiality of the data, etc. After having the methodology section, there are two important terms that we are using in research. One is methods, other is methodology. Would anybody like to comment what is the difference between methods and methodology? Dr. Daud, if you please unmute yourself.
Methodology is the sum of the all, the procedures or the activities we will be adopting it in our research. While the method is the indicating that what kind of, tool we are using in a sense.
Anybody who wants to add in it? Dr. Rabia, would you want to add in it? What is the difference between methodology and methods? We have short time, please. Right. Methodology is when you are giving the justification of your methods that have been chosen. Like if you are using certain settings, why you this setting only? If you are using certain study designs, what is the justification of using that specific study design? Similarly, what is behind your inclusion exclusion criteria, how you are doing it, why you are doing it, and what is the justification that is required for that study designs, as well as sample selection, sampling procedures, everything. You have to give each and everything in detail in methodology. Even if you are using any setting, you have to provide us the maps. So you have to give even the Google maps and how the settings, they are having the latitudes, altitudes, what is the neighborhood of that setting, so that we have the clear idea as a researcher that you are doing this research for certain purpose, and methodology is based on justifications. However, in methods, it is quite a short form or the short version of methodology, where you have to give us not the justification and details of each and everything, but you have to mention that what study design you have used, what is the inclusion and exclusion criteria, and how it has been achieved, and what were the ethical considerations. So the basic difference that we have in methodology is that the methodology is usually the part of your thesis, dissertations, and when a detailed research work has been done. But later on, when you are having your research paper being written from your dissertation or thesis, you come to methods. And you have to tell even in clarity what are the different standardization procedures, validation, reliability, and what are the different specimens, what are the versions or the softwares that have been used, and each and everything should be mentioned in your methods with summarization. So next important thing is results. Once you have the results, you have to describe even the descriptive statistics as well as your inferential statistics, and either you are accepting the hypothesis or rejecting the hypothesis, or you are having different limitations. You have to discuss it in discussion and conclusion. So again, in discussion and conclusion, you have to give your research, what have you found, what others have found, what is in agreement and what is in disagreement. The level of evidence. We have been through the level of evidence, and we know that the best level of evidence is meta-analysis, right? Meta-analysis. However, there are certain other levels of evidence too. After meta-analysis, we always prefer to have systematic reviews. We have randomized control trials, we have cohort studies, case control studies, case series, case reports, background information, and the last thing that contributes to the level of evidence is expert opinion. So what is the importance of meta-analysis and systematic reviews? I hope you all are well prepared for today's lecture.
Meta-analysis, actually, the some of the statistical, summary is there, while in a systematic review, only the, a description, descriptive part or narrative part is there.
Thank you very much. My question is, what is the importance of systematic review to the class? Thank you. I don't know you have a very clear understanding of meta-analysis and systematic review. I want to know what is the benefit of systematic review. Amber, if you please unmute your mic.
Ma'am, meta-analysis is the highest level of evidence because, and the major strengths of is the meta-analysis that we use a large sample. We use multi-centered data, and large geographical areas are also involved. So it's involves large samples, and we add the high frequencies and the samples, and we get the highest level of evidence.
Okay, thank you very much. So what is a systematic review? There are two important words. One is systematic and other is review. So Dr. Hansa, would you please tell me what is systematic? Please unmute your mic, please.
Systematic मतलब है कि it is actually mean to do work according to fixed plan के systematic to actually identify the problem, any such healthcare related problem which we identify through gaps, and we retrieve data from related studies which is related to our search question, and then perform and then combine the results and present our own results according to our research question.
Actually, why I have directed this question to you, Dr. Khansa, because you have done systematic review, and whole day yesterday we spent on discussing what is system and how the system should be developed in research. So one of a very practical example of doing research is systematic review. So the system is according to the fixed plan. You first have to make a plan under some supervision. It's not an autonomous plan that you have decided something and you start making a plan. It is a systematic plan, either with collaboration with other researchers or under some supervision or under some expert guidance. And then you start working on that fixed plan or system. That is methodical. The next is the review, a critical appraisal of a scientific work. It may be published or unpublished. So yesterday we were talking about the published research and the databases that are available. Today I would talk more about the unpublished data. There are many sites that are unpublished, right? So why we are considering unpublished data?
Published data is prone to publication bias because on the articles which have significant findings are published more than the articles which have no significant findings.
I'm very glad about your answer. You are perfectly, you have said the correct answer. So what is systematic review? Let's look at Klassen et al. Guides for reading and interpreting systematic reviews, and how this interpretation, it has been written in Archives of Pediatric and Adolescent Medicine, and it is not a new definition. It was proposed in 1998, and I found it very relevant as well as comprehensive. A systematic review is a review in which there is a comprehensive search for relevant studies on a specific topic, and those identified are then appraised and synthesized according to a predetermined and explicit method. So there are very important terms that have been given in this definition. It also gives us the steps in writing systematic review. It also help us to find out that how the search strategies should be directed towards relevant studies and on specific topic. It also tells us how the critical appraisal and how the methods, they should be synthesized. The critical appraisal is the most important thing. Why I always say that in systematic reviews, you must have some expert opinion, because at student level, you don't have that insight into the critical appraisal. Yes, you can read. Yes, you can write. You can have a lot of different studies that are available just on a click of your Google Scholar tab. But how to critically analyze it, how to share those findings with your own experiences with others, so that they come up with certain critique about it. So the critique is that part that is adding new information to it. If the critique is not valid, if the critique is not good, you are not doing any systematic review, because it is not the part of research then even. In basic definition of research, we have emphasized on either new thing or addition in existing knowledge. If the critique is not there, if the identification of gap is not there, then the whole exercise of systematic review, it is faulty, right? So the most important thing is how you appraised and synthesized it according to the predetermined and explicit method. And the best way of having a critique or critical appraisal is to discuss it with others. Who are others? According to Vygotsky, the knowledgeable others. He has defined that whenever you are doing any critique, you must have the zone of your proximal development. There is one zone in which you are developing. However, after reaching a certain limit, you must have some mentor or supervisor or some knowledgeable person who can take you to the next zone. Because the first zone is the zone of your maximum development and you have reached it. It is just like the growth of a child. For example, at 18 years, usually most of the children, they reach their height, right? In order to get extra height or in order to get extra professional growth, you need a knowledgeable person. You need a person who can take you up to the next zone. Yes, I know there are many people who are confident enough that they can grow to a very large extent, but there is always and always the limitation to that extent. No matter how confident they are, no matter how knowledgeable they are, still they need a more experienced or knowledgeable person to go to the next zone. And this has been given by Vygotsky. So according to his theory, the critique, critical appraisal, and all these things, they can add to the existing knowledge. However, you need a knowledgeable person. So the best way of critique is not holding that article to yourself, but bring it to your peers, to your colleagues, to someone who knows that subject, and then start criticizing it and making the things for betterment. There are many people who are criticizing something only for the purpose of criticizing it. They don't have the options how to make it better then. The most important part in critical appraisal or in systematic review is you are also giving the solution to that problem. It is just like if I give you an example from our daily life. For example, if there is a beautiful picture, for example, this picture that is just hanging in front of me. This is a beautiful picture. If I ask you that could you find any thing that can be better, or can you critique it so that we can solve all those problems that are in this picture? there would be many problems, right? That can be raised. For example, that person, his hand, it should be more straight, or the cat he is holding, he should be holding it near his body, or there are so many other things that can be pointed out. But if I ask you to please redraw it so that his hand becomes straighter, or the cat he is holding, he brought that cat much closer to his chest, would you do it? So there are very few people who would be able to do this rightly, right? And perhaps there would be some one who even can't do it. But he was very good in pointing out that this can be done and that can also be done. But when it comes to the solution of that problem, there are very few people who come up with idea. So this is the beauty of critical appraisal, that you have to come up with the solution, or with the addition to the knowledge, or with the important idea how to solve that problem. Otherwise, just identification of the problems and raising research questions, it is not any research at all. So let's do it. How can we do this whole process? It is looking as if we are looking at a very simple things, but actually when we are doing it, it is only the practice that makes a man perfect. So when we are doing it, it is giving us the more clarity that it is not very simple at all. So first important thing is select a topic. And I always say that if you have chosen a good topic, almost 70% of your work has been done. Now that topic or that research question would not allow you to sleep properly or eat properly or do your normal functioning even. Because if you have selected a topic that is really a burning issue, or that is really a cutting edge research, or a topic that is leading you to somewhere that would make you to be driven rather than you are driving that topic, right? So if you are selecting a good topic, it would make your life much easier rather than a topic that is just uh, not as good. I shouldn't say rubbish, but not as good as a good topic, right? So the good topic is, we have already discussed the criteria. It should be feasible, innovative. It should have ethical considerations embedded in it. It should be relevant. It should be valid question, right? So if you have chosen a topic, the most important thing that I want you to be clear about is innovation. If it is something innovative, it would not let you to rest anymore, right? So the next important thing is then search the literature about it. How to search the literature? You have Boolean operators. Yes, you can use and if you are searching two important terms. If you are searching one important term and you want to exclude the other term, you have to use or, right? And sometimes you have to search from different angles in order to get the correct literature. Search of the literature then leads to the development of the argument. If you are thinking that it is a good topic, then you must be a supporter of it. You should develop an argument in order to support it. However, a good topic is always presenting some challenge. It is presenting some innovation, so it is presenting some challenge. So how to gap that challenge, or how to gap that problem, this is the next thing. So you have to survey the literature again. So literature is coming again and again in our review. You again have to go to the literature. Once you have defined your problem, you have defined the gap, you have defined that this is my challenge. The next thing is you are now looking for solutions. How can this be a better option for my research? So you are doing another literature review, and that is for the survey of your gaps that have been developed during your arguments. If you have developed a good research question, believe me, you have to do a lot of research. Once one of my students asked me that, do you think I have checked about 100 articles on this topic? Are they good enough for those students who are doing FCPS, MD, and PhD? Believe me, it is nothing. Just 100 topics being read on a single topic, you are standing nowhere. At least 300 to 500 articles on that topic must be read by any researcher in order to develop just one research question. Just one gap has to be identified. Why we are not very innovative? Why don't we come up with new ideas? Because we don't do enough reading. The main dilemma is that we want everything to be cooked for us. Even we are asking our supervisors to give us the topics, the research questions, and to identify the gaps for us, and we start working on it. Even I don't want to name anyone. One of a very good researcher, he told me that I have 50 important research topics in my laptop. If somebody comes to me and he joined me as a student, I just open my laptop and give him or her a topic. But this is not a correct approach. And I have never seen it even in developed countries like US and UK. Their supervisors, they are having 50 or 60 topics in their laptops and they are giving it to the students. Actually, they have running projects. And in the running projects, they are giving them the insight that this is the project. Now let me know what are your strengths and how you can proceed further, or come up with your own ideas. They formulate it in the form of research questions. They help to identify the gap. But at least 300 to 500 research articles are first read by the student before being allocated any topic. So this is not as easy that supervisor is opening the laptop and giving the research topic to number one student, first topic, number two student, number two topic. That is why innovation is lacking in our research. So if we want a good topic, we have to read, we have to read, and we have to read. So today's motto, if you can understand, is read, read, and read, right? Then you have to critique the literature, right? It is not a storybook. It is not something you have seen just like a weekend movie and forget about it for the rest of the day. No, you have to critique it. You have to continuously think about it and critique it and to identify the gaps in it. Perhaps you have to read each article more than 3 to 4 times in order to know whether this gap has been correctly identified or not. But if I am at your place, what I will do, I will first scan that document, right? And just I want to scan it and find that what are the important messages in that topic. Then I would read it each and every word. And my third step is always start underlining the important concepts and writing my own comments on all those underlined important words, that these are the thoughts that come into my mind while I was reading it. So it is interacting with that written article. So if you are reading 2 articles or 3 articles a day, so you need plenty of time just to read 2 or 3 articles. And it is not a single read. It is reading again and again, interacting with that article, making the words clearer for you, searching here and there about the different ideas that are coming to your mind and write it down there, right? So this is how the critique is done. Then write the review. Whatever you have found or whatever have come to your mind, everything is not correct. So you have to further define it, redefine it, and have to write it. And this is how you are writing the review. So what are the steps in writing reviews? If you ask me the any synonym for research, so I will beg your pardon. I would say only one word: read. Research is reading, and no other thing, no other way. People are doing research without reading properly, and that is the dilemma, right? So research is reading. Then analysis. Whatever you have read, you are going to analyze it, and then you are starting drafting it. Why are drafts are being given for rewriting? Because they are not communicating the same message to other people. And then revising. So what are the steps in writing reviews? Planning, If you have done with the planning, let's see how the Prisma guidelines help in planning. Or there are certain planning tools that are already present for systematic reviews. We will go through it and we would come up with the idea that how the planning that has been the main part of any research. And I would suggest that whatever time you get here in the department, you must read an article, especially those who have already approved synopsis and those who have been working on their synopsis as well as their thesis. They must read articles while they are sitting in the department. And the maximum you read, the maximum analysis part, that would be better. So first is planning. The second is the planning not only is about the Prisma guidelines or the protocols, it is about also the planning about your time, how your resources would be planned, and how you are looking at your research for the next few years, right? Next is analysis, drafting, and revising. So revising again and again. It is revising, means you have to visit your written statement again and again. So what are the Prisma guidelines? It is a preferred reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. It has 4 important items: identification, screening, eligibility, inclusion, and exclusion criteria. So these are the 4 important items in Prisma guidelines. So for Prisma, identification, number of records identified through database searching. Dr. Rabia, please mute your mic. So the next is number of additional records identified through other sources. Screening, number of records after duplicates have been removed. Whenever you are identifying it through any database, there may be some research that is present in PubMed. Similar research is also found in Medline. Similarly, it may also appear in Google Scholar. And so you have one research paper that is being uploaded by different databases. Similarly, in ResearchGate, even the author can upload their own article. So one article may be duplicated in certain databases. So the second important step in is to screen it out or to remove the duplications. So what is important point in screening is to remove the duplications. And the number of the records that are screened and number of the records that are excluded both has to be documented, right? Eligibility, number of full text articles assessed for eligibility, number of full text articles excluded with reasons. So if in Prisma guidelines, there are only abstracts that are available, they have to be excluded. We need full text articles. We need each and everything that has been written by the author. It should be clear to the researcher. If the abstract is available, it means they are in summarized form, and perhaps the researcher would not be able to correctly identify that how these results have been achieved. So in Prisma guidelines, we have to remove all those articles that are not full text articles. I am again and again emphasizing this point because in most of the literature review I have seen, people are giving the references from the abstract. How come? If you are writing a good literature review, you shouldn't, right? Eligibility, number of full text articles assessed for eligibility. The eligibility criteria, as I have told you, that you should be very clear about it, that this is my research question and this type of article would address it. So this would make your eligibility criteria. Number of full text articles excluded with reasons. Included, number of studies included in qualitative synthesis, number of studies included in quantitative synthesis or meta-analysis. Why Prisma? Right. Why Prisma? Because it minimizes the bias errors, can help to end confusion, highlight where there is not sufficient evidence. Combining findings from different studies can highlight new findings, can mitigate the need for further trials. Anything else that you think are important? Why we are using Prisma? We start with Dr. Daud. and then everybody would have their comments because we have 4 minutes left, and I would stop here. Tomorrow, I will talk more about how to register systematic reviews and how to go about it when we have done our systematic review. Right. Why, Prisma?
Yeah, Prisma guideline actually help us to have a, I mean, a structured approach for synthesizing the various articles. What I understand it. I think the 4 steps, everything is in, I mean, is covered under these 4 headings. Additionally, subtitle or subtypes of things can they come under these 4 headings, I think. And it's up to the researcher how they approach it and how they, like, they handle it.
Ma'am, it's a systematic way of doing research, and
Ma'am, I think it's a stepwise process which makes easy for every researcher to do research.
It will help in gathering evidence. Ma'am, it is a systematic way of getting knowledge.
Okay, if I summarize it, it is like facilitate rational decision that is always and always on evidence. Healthcare providers like us, researchers, and policymakers are facing challenge of unmanageable amount of information. For example, over 20 million citations are present in PubMed. Approximately 75 to 100 randomized clinical control trials are published daily. Usually impossible to consider all relevant individual primary research studies in a decision-making context. So there is unmanageable amount of information. Now, what is the role of researchers and universities to create new knowledge? By looking at all these 20 million citations that are already available in PubMed, by reading all those 100 RCTs that are already being published daily. And this is the role of universities to help the policymakers, researchers, and to nourish the important evidence-based practices and enable us to keep up to date with the evidence accumulating in field and to practice evidence-based medicine. Without the universities, without doing research, we are never ever able to practice evidence-based practices, right? So I would stop here. If you have any question, you are most welcome to ask. Dr. Sadia, I think we should stop here. And if you have any question, you can ask me directly. Thank you so much. Allah
Thank
Hafiz.
you.